Hi guys, how you guys doing, man? Wow, wow. I don't know if you can notice. Well, you can definitely notice. The background is different, which means I'm in a different place right now, different environment. And yeah, guys, I moved back home, man. I moved back home end of January. So it's been a while since I came home, and yeah, coming back home has actually, made me complacent in a sense because you can see I haven't posted in a while, and yeah, man, I've just been trying to get myself up to this place where I can actually make this recording. And today it just so happened that, yeah, I woke up early. I prepared myself. Like I've actively been in the process of, getting to this place where I can actually make this recording. Now, this noise in the background is really, really loud. It's just annoying me. Our house is next to a carpentry shop, so these guys are just they actually rented the next building behind the whole thing, so the guys just be making noise the entire time. Like I can't make a recording during the course of the day, and it's 5 right now, so I'm making this video at 5, and I was hoping maybe they would be done, but they're not done yet. I wanted to record in the night, but today is a Friday, so I'm going out. So the best time to make the recording is right now. Okay, night I'll stop by screen start again because they are still working. But anyway, I came back home, man. I came back home, guys. And my reason for coming back home, I don't even know if I want to talk about my reason for coming back home, honestly. I just feel like just talking about, this whole scene of me not being present on the internet, of me not making content. Like I said, coming back home, it's like it made me complacent, right? It's like it just took away all the the drive, the ambition to make videos every single day, to put out content, to necessarily create for me luck on the internet, right? Just it's like it took it away. But I don't also want to just blame me coming back home because I've also been in a battle with myself, just trying to find myself in a sense. Because, man, m- part of the reason I came back home was because of my goal for 2025. Now, I do want to mention my goal for 2025, but I kind of feel like I'll jinx myself if I talk about it. But everything sort of happened like a coincidence, right? Always at my apartment, always planning this whole thing for 2026. And I was just looking for a way to make more money, right? I was, in thoughts like, how can I actually get myself to save up some more money? Because, I need to save up quite a bit to achieve the goal that I want to achieve at the end of the year. So it hit me. I mean, it didn't exactly hit me, but I came home for Christmas, visited, yeah, I was having a chat with my dad, and yeah, he pitched me the idea. Sometimes life happens in a crazy way. Sometimes life happens in a crazy way. Oh, I should turn off my internet here because it's going to distract me when messages come through. Sometimes life happens in a crazy way. Like you're there planning out your things, then, something opens up, a loophole opens up, something opens up. So for me, it was that, I'm just there thinking like, how can I get to save some more money? And then so that I can make this a reality, this goal of mine of 2026 a reality. How? I come back home, Christmas. Oh, like, hey man, come, you should come home. You should come home and you be around. And the reason for me coming back home is because like everyone's leave is left the house, right? And my dad isn't usually around, so he needed someone to be around the house, to be, staying home. So, at first I was resistant to the idea. I was like, you know, uh, should I go back home? I don't want to go back home. I looked at my space, my life, I'm in my space, man. I've already transitioned, man. And this is Muyenga. As I said, is in Tinder. I had already got a lifestyle over there, So coming back home wasn't necessarily sitting well with me. I wasn't really buying the idea. But then I just, I went through, I thought about it a bit. And I usually train myself, right? From time to time, I train myself not to get attached to things, not to get attached to lifestyles, to things, whatever, because you have to be fluid. And this just goes back to my knowledge and reading books and all. It kind of shapes how I tend to go about life, right? Because if I just sat there and I'm being rigid, I'm like, man, I'm not going back. I've already moved on. Like I'm already living an active life over here, you know. then I wouldn't see the possibility of me being able to save up some more, because in the first place I was looking like, how can I make some more money, right? But making some more money isn't exactly that easy. I mean, I could just look around the internet or something for another client, but that takes a while. It takes just know the process a bit. And also, personally, sometimes you get comfortable, especially if you have like clients who are consistent. Sometimes you get comfortable and you just you don't want to put in effort and trying again and all of that, because you know the process, how it was, how it's like to actually get yourself wherever you are, right? So I was just there, telling myself like, I know I really like this lifestyle, I really like this space of mine. I don't want to leave, right? I'm here now, and I have to see this through, right? Because when I first left and I moved out, and I was like, man, I'm not going back home. I'm not ever going back home. It's never going to be a backup option for me. It's always going to be, you know, from from here on, it's me on my own, and yeah, till whenever, right? But sometimes they tell you that there are these sayings that it's not necessarily a saying, but sometimes you dealt a hand in life, as if, right? It's like you dealt a hand in life. The privilege is it? Okay, I know this with pretty privilege, where if you're like a pretty looking person, whether it's a pretty boy or a pretty girl, but let's just go with the pretty girl thing. If you're a good looking girl, right? That's a hand dealt to you that you can use to your advantage. It can take you places. It can expand your possibilities. Can open up doors for you. In that you may get someone, or you will. Let me just put it in the sense that you will, because man, honestly, if you're a pretty girl, right? If you're a pretty girl, if you just put yourself in the right spaces, go in the right environment, you're going to open yourself up to so much, like you to so much suitors, to so many suitors. And in those suitors, someone could be the guy who is actually going to get you out of your situation, if at all. Maybe you don't have a job, life is not moving, and this and that. And then because you have the looks, this is a hand that's dealt to you. Just make sure you work on yourself, your character, right? Make sure you work on yourself, your character, and then you can get a suitor who's going to yeah, man, take you in, take care of you. Now you have a life that you're going to have to yourself, because you are dealt a hand in life, right? Sometimes it's sometimes like you dealt these hands in life, and if you don't see it, and if you don't make use of it, you find yourself just still battling with life, and yet you could actually make use of this. So in my case, I'm dealt this hand in life where it's kind of come from a family that's a bit, that I don't want to blow no trumpet here or anything like that, but yeah, I was invited to come back home, and home is always a safe. It's always been a safe place for me. Even when I moved out, I always knew at the back of my head, like going back home is always there. Like you can always go back home. It's always been a backup option for me. As much as I've never, when I first moved out, I didn't want to put it in my head. Like I just cancelled it. Like, man, I don't want to be the guy who is there like, oh, if things are hard, I just go back home. No, it's never been that. It's never been that. And I mean, in this situation, you could argue that the situation that I was in, because I wanted to save some more money to achieve this goal, the option was for me to go back home, instead of me like grinding and hustling and looking for more money, looking for ways to make more money. I could just come back home, and the money that I was using to for my everyday expenses, rent and all of that, I could just save it up, right? But sometimes you dealt these hands, and it just so happens my dad pitches me the idea at the right time, at the right moment. And so, as much as I was there holding on to, oh, I need to stay in my space and no, and this and that, I just bought into the idea. I'm like, you know what, this is actually valid. Like, this is actually something I could get into. Like, let me go back home, and Yeah, just maybe just for a year, let's say, or maybe a few months, right? Because honestly, coming back home, like I said, it's just made me feel so complacent. Like I wake up in the morning and I'm not really feeling I'm not really feeling fired up. I remember when I was in my apartment, man, I was just feeling, sometimes the month is coming to an end and you haven't yet received payment. And in the apartment that I was in, if you don't pay on time, this guy just turns off your power and tons of your water later on. I had this trauma. I talked about it in a video, right? So I had I used to sit on fire whenever the month is coming to. I mean, at a point it just became I became accustomed to the ways of the apartment. Like I knew what's up, so I would always pay my rent on time. But in the beginning it was a bit of that. And also sometimes, let's say, if I put money, if I decide to buy something for myself, like say buy the PS or buy whatever, and I've spent way more money and I don't have anything in savings, and now I'm waiting for a paycheck so that I can clear my rent. Sometimes, like, it would put me in this scenario, in this situation where I'm like, I want things to happen. Like I'm active, I'm active. I wake up in the morning, like I was making these videos at the back of my mind, telling myself, like, if I you be consistent with the videos, maybe it's going to lead to something. I could garner so much attention on the internet or something, and I build a community that I could probably rely on when things, like I was just having this possibility. So I used to show up every time, making videos every single time. And man, ever since coming back home, yeah, it hasn't really been the case. To to be honest, to an extent, like coming back home, I was just like, yes, I came back home, landed myself home, and man, one of my clients actually opened up, like, got me onto some other work, which means some more money, right? But again, adopting to this other work was taking a toll on me, and also just, you know, yeah, just being home. I wake up in the morning and I'm a bit, not really fired up. And also, man, the goal that I'm trying to achieve for the end of the year it's a bit of a big one, and it requires me to play with time. It requires me to play with time, which means being patient. If you're out there and you can't save money, right? There's a reason as to why you can't save money. Saving money isn't just some kind of thing that you just take on, and yeah, it's easy to just, no, it requires you to play with time, and it requires you to be patient. It requires you to overlook the present moment and aim for the future or something like that, right? That's how it plays out. And so if in the present moment there are things that you want you know to go towards, to do, like I've just been here, man. Bro, guys, I got myself a car, right? In the first place, I bought myself a car. Like when you buy yourself a car, sometimes you want to just be out and about, right? But then you get to the reality that now you have to spend money on fuel. And guys, I know I bought myself like a, somewhat of a cheap car, right? A cheap car. This is a car that is, and there is a caveat that I didn't actually pick up in the first place when I was making this purchase, right? Because cars that have good fuel economy are usually 20 million and above. There's a reason for that. They're expensive for a reason, right? You buy the car for 20 million and it's not going to consume a lot of fuel, and on top of that, you're going to have it for a long while, right? My car, on the other hand, four-wheel drive, 2cc engine, this car doesn't play around with fuel. Like it actually consumes fuel, right? So I'm there caught up in this frenzy where I want to save up money, but I also want to go out. I want to be driving around, maybe be seen in some places, but I'm here holding myself back, telling myself, bro, you can't. If you're going to go out, and nowadays I have this thing where I just, if I'm going out, man, I don't want to sit on a border, bro. I no. I want to drive. Like that's just it. I just want to drive. Like I've become used. Like it's become a part of me that if I'm going out, I usually want to drive. And unless if it's just a short distance, if it's like unless if I'm going to like town, because usually in town they don't usually town. Usually cars are not there. It's mainly taxis, borders. So there, if I'm going there, usually with a border, right? But yeah, I've become very accustomed to driving, driving here, driving there, and that costs money. With my car that consumes fuel, if I'm making a journey from here, Muyanga, up to Nakasero and back, let's say, usually if I put fuel for 20 grand, going back, that fuel is done, right? That fuel is done. And also I don't usually put like, okay, recently I've been putting little fuel because man, I don't want to touch some of the savings that I've made because I really want my coming back home not to be taken for granted. Like I actually want it to actually amount to something. But I've not also been saving exactly what I wanted to save, right? I haven't exactly been saving that because I still go out. Like I still go out on Fridays. And that's why I'm telling you, like, I've been struggling with myself over here, man. Just beating myself up, like, man, you want to achieve this goal at the end of the year, but you have to play the game of time. You have to play with time. You know, you don't have to be out and about, yeah, going crazy and trying to do what other people are doing. Like when you go out and people are eating, are spending money on some amazing meals, like yo, drinks, whatever, like all these things where someone is blowing off like a sick 100K on a single night, something like that, and you see yourself on the other hand, like you just can't exceed 40K, bro. You just can't exceed that. Once you exceed that, you've gone beyond the budget, you know. And when you add the fact that you're buying fuel, you know, all of this money, just you just sit back and you're like, man, this goal that I want to achieve, like it's large, it's larger than me, and that's the problem of trying to do things when impossible things, when your income bracket doesn't exactly allow it, and it's what I'm about, right? It's what I'm about. Like how the I want to use the F word so bad. How the fuck did I actually buy myself a car when my income doesn't necessarily allow it, right? I managed to pull it off while I was still renting, while I was still in my space. I mean, it could allow it, and it did allow it because I kept myself in the house most of the time. I was budgeting like crazy, like all of that. And yeah, it's just a matter of playing around with what you have, and I did do that. But nowadays I find that you're battling with two sides of yourself, man. There's this self of you, there's this part of you, or the self of you, I don't even know if it's a word, but yeah, this self of you that wants to go out and be about. Because I think maybe this is something I could talk about in another video, maybe in the next video, because I really want to be out. Like I feel like just staying in all day just because I want to achieve this one goal at the end of the year. Yes, it's only a sacrifice that you make for like a year. It's a sacrifice you make for a year, like the sacrifice I made of paying off the car and getting it all fixed in 2025. Yes, I managed to go through the year and actually attain that goal, but I feel like I closed myself off from a lot, right? Because this goal just puts you to sleep. It kind of puts you to sleep, right? It requires you to be asleep, meaning you're just staying home, isolated, quiet, saving money, right? Just saving money. And then at the end of the year, once you've achieved the goal, maybe then now you can attune yourself and get back to the whole outing and going out and actually putting yourself out there, right? But yesterday I was having a walk and I was actually thinking about it, man. I was really thinking about it. It was like, man, I know we want to achieve this goal, but really, part of the reason why I'm where I am right now is because, yes, I've always had goals and I've always aimed for big things, but never big things that are too out of reach, right? Never big things that are too out of reach. They're usually things that are within reach, right? Like let's say buying a laptop or buying another phone or buying a microphone. Usually they're within reach. Maybe you save up for like a month, or you wait for a month or two. I mean, before I was actually like like making some decent money for myself. Back then, I was like jumping on gigs here and there, right? I mean, nowadays I don't even have photography gigs. I don't even have videography gigs anymore, just because I stay in the house. I keep to myself. You know, back then when I was out and about and I was putting myself out there, like I could meet someone, tell the person I do this and I do that, and they pitch me on a gig here and a gig there. So I would make money here and there, and and it would like. But now I have my camera, my microphones. Like I have equipments that are just there, just yeah, they're just there. They have not been put to use because I keep it to myself. I'm trying to use what I have to make to make this achievement to reach this achievement I want to reach by the end of the year. So I'm still having these thoughts in my head whether to actually continue with this goal that I want or to adjust the goal. And like I said, I'm fluid, right? I like to be fluid. I like to think things through. I like to see the relevance in some things and also maybe adjust them, right? Because I'm actually thinking this through. Like, okay, yes, you want to achieve this goal, and it's a it's a it's a sacrifice that you're going to make for, let's say, a year, right? You make the sacrifice for a year, achieve it, and to be honest, this goal that I want to achieve, it's not really going to be achieved within a year, but the thing that actually sparks this goal to actually kick on starts by me saving up until the end of the year, right? That actually kickstarts it. Then from there on, eh, I, I have a feeling like as I think about this and I maybe adjust my thinking because something is telling me like, yeah, you really want to achieve this goal, but also see how it's capping you, man. It's keeping you close. It's closing off your opportunities. Like, how is it even affecting your way of thinking in the first place, right? Like, I can't. I mean, when I'm thinking about it, right? I remember back then when I was still like really reading books and closed off and staying within my space. You know, it, it was it was okay. Like I could stay home for months and months and I wouldn't mind, right? Because I had an escape route, right? Nowadays I don't read nowadays. Like I even find it hard to start reading, right? It's so bad. But that's because I've transitioned. I've opened up myself to the world, like making these videos, sitting here and confidently speaking on camera, right? And going out and meeting with people and talking to people, like putting myself out there. That wasn't me. That just wasn't me, right? But I've transitioned, I've opened up myself to a different kind of life, to a different kind of person, right? And so instead of me trying to reverse myself, like how can I actually play within my current space, my current self, man? How can I do that? So I'm actually like going through these thoughts right now. Yesterday I had like this long walk, bro. I just walked from here. I wish I could actually like describe it for you, but say from Muyenga up to somewhere in Bukasa, that like just walked, man, just walked. And honestly, I don't like taking walks in this area because there's so many people that I can run into either from my school or from somewhere. Oh, bro, this area. When I was in Ntinda, at least I could take a walk like on the highway and I know I'm not going to run into anyone. Like I could just take a walk wherever, and that side I was just in my own environment, my own space. But this side, I'm very, very sure I'm going to run into someone who's going to be like, bro, I've seen you taking a walk over or something. And it looks so weird because usually when I'm taking a walk, I'm just Crocs, big pants, big shirt. I like putting on like baggy stuff usually when I'm at home. Just because it's like the most chill stuff that I can put on and be okay with, right? So yeah, man, I've that's really what I've been up to, man. And I'm still battling with myself, man. I'm still battling with myself. But I feel like as I pick up to make these videos, actually, one of the reasons why I didn't put out any video in a while is because having come back home, as you can see, these drawers, I don't know, these whatever they're called, drawers, whatever, right? Look at the color, man. The color doesn't really play with my aesthetic for videos. In my apartment, it was white walls. I mean, that's not really white. It's cream, but it's turning out to be white in this video. I don't know how. And this is like the best angle I could pick to make the recording. The other side, there's a TV, there's a PlayStation over there. Then here's my workspace here. It just wasn't playing out. This is like the best angle, and I usually like recording next to my workspace, right? Because it just works for me. It just works out for me the best, right? So uh, I was debating on whether I should record with that background, and usually I want to use the light from outside and have a bright scene and all of that. But because those drawers, like the colors, don't really play to my aesthetic, I've closed the curtains and I'm using a light here, and I think this is actually working. Like it's actually working the best. So I think this is what I'm going to be doing. I was looking for a way to I was looking for a best angle or for a way to actually pull this off, but I think this actually works. This works perfectly for me. So I'm going to be making these recordings. And also, man, having come back home, yeah, usually when I was in my space, like you just in your space alone. Here now, I mean, my dad's around right now. um the neighbors making noise. I can't really record during the course of the day, and I'd lost it for recording in the night. And also, in the night is when I receive work. So most times in the night, I'm like actively editing, I'm doing work. So I don't usually record in the night. But I think now that I've actually pulled this off right now, I could actually start putting out some more content. And I don't want to, go into this whole excitement and I say I'm going to put out videos every single day. But if I can actually pull it off, that would be amazing. Because me making these videos actually gives me the sense that I'm doing something. Like I'm putting myself out there. Like I'm actually doing something. Like sometimes you don't have to run, but you can jog. If you can't jog, you can walk, you can crawl, whatever the case. You're doing something. Just make sure you're doing something, right? So as long as putting out videos, I'm actively putting out videos, something could come out of this endeavor of me putting out content, right? So guys, yeah, that's really what's happened, man. That's really where I've been, right. So yeah, I did I did take on that hand that I'm dealt in life, where I can just come back home. And yeah, I'm home. But I feel like as I'm adjusting my thinking, as I'm playing around with my goals here, right, for the end of the year. And maybe if I put it off, but I don't feel like I'll put it off, or maybe I'll let it move on to the next year. Whatever the case, I'm still thinking it out. And maybe I'll speak about it as I'm making this video. And I actually want to speak about it as I'm making this video, right? As I'm making videos, right? I really want to speak about it. But let me just get some more time to think about it. Today, I'm going over for karaoke. I'm excited, right? I'm excited to go out for karaoke. And yeah, guys, I'm here, man. I've shown up, man. I've actually made a video. Some of you have been wondering, like, Chris, where have you been at? Hey, why aren't you putting out a video? I'm here now, man. I'm here now, and I hope to keep showing up. I hope to keep showing up. That's been it for this video, and yeah, guys, see ya.